Good morning, good afternoon, good evening. This is Pamela, and you are watching Pam Entertainment TV, where we review movies, television series, and incidents in pop culture to see how those incidents may or may not affect our daily lives. Listen, how y'all doing? How y'all doing? I've been gone for a minute, but I'm back. And I do want to again talk about Jonathan Majors, not specifically in regards to his case. But I do want to, I talked a little bit before about the aftermath and the fallout, but I do want to talk about, and I titled it The Nuances of the Frustrated African American Populace. I was on, let me do some shout out. Shout out to Danny. Danny has uploaded her video. Where is she? Where is she? Come on, I'm going to show it to you. uh, Danielle Atherton, MBA, PhDC legal analyst. She's got her channel up. Make sure you go over there and you support her. Her first video that I can see is the analysis of the Jonathan Majors trial and verdict. Y'all go over there and support her like you all are over here supporting me. She's got a good interview with a defense attorney. I've watched half of it and I stopped because I needed to do this video. But go ahead and support her. But listen, I was on, shout out to Dre of the Dre Max Show. I was, early in the morning, I was in his live he did yesterday, I believe. And go check out his lives. He does them early in the morning, and my insomnia kicked in. And so I was in the live, and there was a person in the live, and I can't remember what his name. I should have screenshotted his name, but I didn't. He was going through there. Talking about, well, I don't understand why you all bring up the race card, or I don't understand why y'all do all of this stuff because it was about the violence that happened in the car. Continuing. And then it hit me. People are so frustrated with what's going on that there's so many nuances within that frustration that I wanted to talk about these things. I'm not going to spend a whole lot of time on them, but I am just going to put them out here in the ether and have them separated out so that people can understand why the African American populace is so frustrated, all right, about this case. Uh, it is about Jonathan Majors, but it's actually a lot bigger than that. And we see things happening and people gaslight us as a populace and act like we don't see what we see. And again, that's coming from people's worldview on how they view things. No one has a worldview like an African American person, and that's on period. I don't care. You can say you can be whoever you are in the diaspora, and you all may go through a whole lot of different things, but we have a unique perspective about what goes on in the United States of America as ADOS, African descendants of slaves. We have a different perspective. And so, what I want to go over is the frustrations that we hear. Now, again, the African American community is not a monolith. That's why there are so many different nuances in the frustration. All right. Again, these are the words and the finding of Pam and Pam Entertainment ETV. This is just what I see and what I have been feeling. If you have felt something different, y'all put it down there in the comments, or if you have something to add. But this is the first thing I see. There is a lot of frustration within the populace in regards to Jonathan Majors and how he was treated. And one of the things that a lot of us will say is, well, if he wasn't dating that white woman, he wouldn't have these problems. Or if he wasn't dating this white woman, he wouldn't go through half the stuff that he's going through. Now, within that, there are nuances because what are people trying to say? If you are a person that believes that he did what he did and it was intentional and it was domestic violence, if you believe that, if you believe that he would do it to this person, why wouldn't you think that he would do it to a black woman? Right? But let me break it down, and this is a community thing. there's a lot of frustration and upsetness, particularly with black women, and I am a black woman, about seeing these kind of things go down with black men who intentionally and purposely date white women. And the frustration that comes from black women is, y'all know these women are have some level of protection beyond what you have. And once they are not satiated in the way that they believe that they should be satiated, they will destroy you. And it's happened time after time. You all understand it and recognize it. But some people believe, some men think that it's not going to happen to them. And so there is a frustration from black women in regards to that. And particularly when black men get in trouble, there's a lot of black women that believe then you come to us to repair your image, to repair, help you repair this, or help you find balance, to help you find, or pick you up and help you find your purpose again. And that's a level of first frustration within the African American populace that we see. And also, what happens is how that is being responded to. Now, there is nothing wrong with Jonathan Majors dating Megan Good, but what you see Megan Good get is, and it comes from black women. So let's be really clear: the title of being the cleanup woman, the fool, uh, Megan blink 3 times because are you okay, girl? Those types of things. And where does that come from? That comes from that frustration within the African American woman that, girl, don't be cleaning up a mess that you didn't make. Don't clean up that mess that you didn't make. And so you hear that level of frustration that goes on within the community. The second nuance of frustration within the African American populace are the police, and particularly with the police with the ability and the power to trump up charges against you. We saw that in this case. We weren't able for a lot of that information to go through because the judge wouldn't allow the body cam footage to have the sound. So the jury was left to interpret it what was going on. And I am unclear whether or not the jury understood or knew that they could get closed caption for the sound. And the reason why that is so important is because there was particular points within this video which showed, go to Chillmonger's channel, he has the video up, that shows the cops gesturing and speaking to her about being strangled. And this is what the reason why you saw, they were looking at the neck, and you couldn't figure out what you saw besides the lighting and things like that. I couldn't see it. Knowing that she's a fairer skinned white woman, a bruise is going to show up on her regardless. And this is when this strangulation charge. But then when you realize that that was not going to stick, but that didn't stop the arrest in the first place. And that was the initial reason why he was arrested, because the cops had asked her over 19 times, did he strangle her? Did he strangle you? And then she acquiesced and said, yes, he strangled me. And then we come out and find later that no, that's not what happened. But that was the charge that they used to initially arrest him. And the frustration that we get is that we always get that. The police will trump up charges. It happens over and over and over again. You have people that have been arrested for saying that they had drugs in the car. And then lo and behold, you find out that the cops are the ones that put the drugs in the car. You have people who have been arrested uh, uh, for the R word, for uh, unaliving somebody, pruning somebody off the timeline. You've had a lot of people that have been arrested for trumped up charges that the police do. And then there's where we see it. And then when we speak about it, Everybody is like, oh, well, blue lives matter. And, you don't know how hard that job is, and yada, yada, yada. And we get gaslit until you see I'm sorry, but every week in this nation, you see a black man or a black woman who has spent a decade, 2 decades, 3 decades in jail. And then you find out that their case is overturned. Why? Because the evidence that was collected against them was false. Uh, a witness was coerced to lie in their testimony, and they were pushed in through the police. A whole bunch of stuff like that. And we get frustrated because where everybody else thinks it's, well, they made a mistake. Who wants to be in jail 10 years off of someone's mistake? And I don't believe it's a mistake. I believe it's intentionally, because everything revolves around money, even government jobs, because the statistics and everything that they gather, those are the things that bring money in. So if you've got statistics coming in saying that there are robberies, that brings money into the robbery unit. You have statistics saying that there's a high sense of pruning from the timeline in your city, that brings money to the city. That also brings a whole lot of other stuff. The police in the United States are the most militarized police force in the world. What does a police force have to do? Why do you need a tank? Why do you need flamethrowers and all these types of things like that? Explain to me the population that you're policing would need those types of things. That's a frustration. We also want to talk about the court system, because within this trial, you saw at the beginning of this trial, there was charge after charge after charge. Because before they broke it down to what, 3 or 4 charges, what were they, 6 charges that were placed on here? Uh, that is a problem with the piling, and that's a frustration, that the piling up of charges, because you're wanting to get such a wide field of charges that at some point the jury has no choice but gets a little confused about what charge they have to do. And then they also feel like, well, we don't have any choice. We got to charge them with something. And I think that is a big frustration, because people have charges have been piled out, 6 and 7, 8 charges. Well, how do you get 6 and 7, 8 charges off of this incident? Where does that come from? There should be, in all states, truth in charging, that you have a gamut of charges that you do. And the truth in charging is you can't go any further than the charge it be. So, in other words, if you say, I don't know, if you say, let's talk about assault. If you got assault one, if you got assault two, if you got assault three, right? It can only go up high as that charge. So if you have simple assault, you can't then charge simple assault, then aggravated assault, and whatever, reckless assault. If it's simple assault, that's the highest charge that you can go, and that's what's presented to the jury. That's what you're arrested under. There should be truth in charging, instead of just throwing the kitchen sink at something. There should be truth in charging when you charge an individual for a crime. That's another frustration. This frustration, I'm going to do this one first, and then I'm going to do the last one. Media bias. What we saw in this trial, and one of the things that Chillmunker and Dre and Danny and Kat and Flavio and all of these people who were out here, one of the things that we were looking for was truth in reporting. However the case went, it was to be truthful in reporting and not report from this slant of bias. Because what we find is that though you had reporters in the court, their publications already had a slant. And I think I talked about this in another video about the news media It's in the vestiges of entertainment. They are in the mode of entertaining you. And so they have a slant. You will see it in the headlines. And then when you get to the truth of what it is, it's so lost and buried in this headline and in these big blurbs of not even always truthful information. It skirts the line so close that it's not even the truth in what they're saying. And we found a lot of this in the reporting of this case, and particularly with the text messages. Because one of the things that I could never figure out was these text messages that they were able to read in the courtroom, the way the news media put this information out, these text messages were from September 2022. But the way they reported this information, you would have thought that these were the text messages that uh, Jonathan Majors and Grace Jabari sent to each other, or Grace Jabari's 32 texts and all those things that happened that evening. If you really realize it, and I have to get back with Danny to figure this out, did they even bring that night's text messages up? Because remember that the 911 call was about her being sprawled out in the closet unconscious. And you remember the text messages that Priya Chaudhry put out back in March. It's that very first line that says, "There is no note, only you will know." That was the line that sprung all of this off, plus whatever came above that. Everybody was so concentrated about the two big blurbs down at the bottom with her talking about, I told them that we were fighting and I'm going to do all I can that nothing happens to you, yada, yada, yada. But that's the line that spurred things off. We never did see what happened above that line. But anyway, one of the things that I think, me at my big age, and I've said this before, I am now wary of when people are reporting the news. When I read the news and things like that, I am going to be letting you know this is this publication. I don't know if this publication it has a slant. They all have a slant, letting you know from right now and forth. I will be reading newspaper articles and things like that, but also understand too that these newspaper articles have a slant. And that's where, you're going to have to dig a little bit deeper to get the truth, even to the point where you've got to read the exact court reports. You got to read the exact things, because it made no sense to me that you had 18 people from 18 different publications. And these people are journalists. They claim to have gone to school to be journalists. And I don't knock them for that. But out of 18 people, you didn't have at least 18 different schools of thought. Everybody had the same school of thought, or everyone had the same slant. That's interesting. That's real interesting. And that's a level of frustration because, again, if you are an African American person, you do see the fact that when the news is reported, particularly when they're talking about us, it's always slanted into the negative. It's always slanted into the violence. And it's always put forth like we are the worst people that are on this earth. You know, uh, if you don't believe me, do you all remember this young lady who at one point was homeless, and she had her child in one school district, and then they put her in jail for like what, 5 years, because her child was going to a different school zone than they were zoned for? Y'all remember that case? Well, do you all understand and remember that she was put in jail? Then 2.5 years later, an Asian family did the same thing, and it didn't get any further than the school system. They just made them go back to the school system that they were supposed to be in. Same state, same city. But you see how we are criminalized? She went to jail 5 years. They just had to report to their proper school zone, wherever they were. And so that's that thing about the media bodies. It was, they were reported like, oh, well, they just made a mistake and we rectified it. She does the same thing. She's criminalized. She's placed in jail. We see this time and time again. And you know what frustrates me? This is what frustrates me because then it happens so much. We as a people then start spouting off like, well, that just happens. That's what happens. We get so frustrated and frustrated and defeated because anything we do is criminalized. Everybody else, oh, they just made a mistake. Us, it's criminalized. We go to jail for stuff. And my last nuance of this case, and I should have read this after the interracial dating and the problems, but I'm going to put it in this section because one of the things that as Black folk that we get confronted with every day are white women tears or their microaggressions because it has been so ingrained in American society that when a white woman cries or when she feels like some people are upset and she's frustrated, people go beyond, up and beyond to try to satiate her, even if what she's doing is criminal, even if what she's doing is out of being mean spirited, but because she cries and she seems like a damsel in distress, there's a lot of people that have died, that have gone to jail, that have lost their jobs because of a white woman crying about something that she perceives as a slight to her. You don't believe me? Do y'all remember a few years ago? I think we were in the pandemic when the lady was in the park and she was walking her dog off the leash, and there was a black man who was a bird watcher, and he politely asked her to put her dog back on the leash because the dog was scaring the birds that he was looking for because they were in that part of the city of the park that's supposed, your dog is supposed to be on a leash. This is a great place for bird watching. And you remember how he was recording her, and then she decides to get on the phone and starts crying and screaming that she is being attacked. Had that man not take this woman doing what she was doing, he would probably be in jail right now. He would probably be in jail with assault. I know a lot of you all like to quote or talk about Emmett Till and all of these different things like that. But there's some modern day stuff that's going on that you all know about in your city where you could be at the job and and as a black woman I have seen this all the time, being at a job doing your work and then the white woman complaining that I'm not smiling. Well, what's wrong with her? Why is she mad at me? I didn't do anything to her. She's not speaking to me. I don't come here to make friends. Why are you? And I've been on a job where I have had to walk into my supervisor's office because a white woman complained because I did not go to lunch with the unit. Why didn't she come to lunch? She's being so mean. I had made I had prepared everything and bought gift bags and stuff, and she didn't show up. I remember sitting in my supervisor's office and my supervisor trying to explain to me that that maybe I should go and apologize to this woman because I didn't come eat lunch with her. Now, I was born on a day, but I wasn't born on that day. Because my first question was, you need to show me where in policy that says that I have to spend my lunch with my coworker. When you can show me that policy, then I'll eat lunch. But until then, we're not going to have this conversation. I would love to hear as black men what you all have gone through under these white women chairs. I would love to hear more stories as Black women, what you all have gone through under these white women chairs. So those are my 5 nuances of why African Americans are frustrated as a populace when we see stuff like this happen. Because a lot of people think, oh, well, you're just rallying behind these people because they're Black. Good, bad, or indifferent. Good, bad, or indifferent. I rally behind my people, good, right, bad, or indifferent, because I know that we are a populace. We're just one piece of the puzzle of this population. But it's my job, good, to make sure that my people know that I love them. It's my job when they cut up and act a fool. That is my job to make sure that I let them know that you cutting up and you acting a fool and do it out of love. And indifferent. If they don't believe the way I believe, if they don't move the way I move, it's my job to still love them and say, "Hey, you do what you do, as long as you're not hurting nobody or making sure that anybody is not confused about what your motives are, making sure that your motives are done in love and done in peace and done in happiness." But I love my people, good, bad, or indifferent. I'm not expecting people to be perfect, but what I am expecting and what I do expect and what I do demand is that there is a fairness. Now, how do we get this fairness? We need to start making sure that we as a people are respected. You don't have to beat people over the head with it, but let them know. Stop kowtowing to people. Let them know. You don't always have to be amongst a whole bunch of people, other people. Be amongst your folks. There are always like minded people. And I am finding just coming into this space, being of YouTube, there are a lot of like minded people like me. That's just real. All right, people. That's all I wanted to go over, just to let you all see and understand where those frustrations are coming from. Some people have uh, the interracial dating frustration. Some people have the white women tears frustration and the media bias. That's cool. Some people have just the interracial dating frustration. That's cool. Some people have where the cops are trumping charges frustration. That's cool. Other people have the court system as a frustration. That's cool. Media bias, that's cool. Whatever it is, your frustration, you have a right to that frustration. You have a right to feel the way you feel. And if it's all jumbled up within all of these things, that's fine too. I just wanted to be able to be a voice to express what I'm seeing, particularly in chats, particularly on Twitter, particularly on Facebook. These are the things that you're seeing. A lot of people look at this and say, oh, well, y'all are playing the race card. No, that's what you see because it's all jumbled up. These are the nuances of the frustration of an African American populace. These are the nuances of the frustrated African American populace. That's what you all are seeing. Those of you all that are outside of the community. All right, people. We do this every week. I promise we do this every week. Please like, comment, and subscribe. And for those of you all that have subscribed to me, I am so stoked, and I hope to continue to give you the information that you'd like. Um, and you see, I have seen the Vin Diesel lawsuit. I'm about to read it and pick it apart and then come back to you, give you a step-by-step video on what I see, what's going on, and where we are. Also, I am aware because with this case, I was putting a lot of effort into this case. I am aware that Diddy has some accusers and some information coming from there. So we're going to make sure that we go over those cases. If I can get those court documents, we'll go through those, okay? All right, people. We do this every week. Please tell a friend, tell a kin, tell your coworker, tell that heifer that you can't stand that I'm over here making these videos. And as always, people,
Bye bye.